Continuing here on the Exam Room Podcast, brought to you by the Physicians Committee. My next guest is somebody who made the transition from the gridiron to the farm. Quite literally. He played big-time college football at the University of Nebraska until his career was cut short, unfortunately. But then, it just kind of everything happens for a reason. He adopts a plant-based diet, recaptures his health. Everything just kind of falls into place. He's an inspiration, and now he's the author of the new book, Splish and Splash, Come to the Farm. My friend, let's welcome plant-based Gabriel back to the Exam Room. Thank you so very much for being here, man.
Hey, Chuck, it's always a pleasure to talk with you and be able to come on and chat a little bit about plant-based diet and all things that are encompassing that.
Dude, this is exciting because you are a football player who has now put out a children's book, and it's not very often that you get to say that. You are definitely a unique guy.
Yeah, you could say I've taken the uncharted path to where I'm at now, but I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Well, okay, let's talk a little bit. You have been on the show before, so it is good to have you back, but the audience has grown since your last appearance. So let's kind of reintroduce you to them. You grew up, just a football guy eating the standard, I'm not going to call it the American diet, I'm going to call it the standard football diet before becoming plant-based Gabriel. So what was your diet like as you were playing ball?
Well, growing up, I had the dream of playing professional football and understanding that college football was also a major part in that. And so in middle school and high school, I was obviously eating, more so the standard American diet, but eating major quantities of the standard American diet. I got up to 230, 240 pounds by the time I was in high school, a lot of weightlifting, a lot of training, and basically got to the point where I was the number 2 rated player coming out of my position in high school. And that's where I found my way to Nebraska.
So for those who aren't familiar, Nebraska is one of the most storied college football programs out there. It is unbelievable, the prestige that comes with being a Nebraska Cornhusker. So just reaching that level of success is just incredible. And I don't want to spend a whole lot of time dwelling on the negative here, but as we said, you did unfortunately have a career-ending injury during your time at Nebraska.
Yeah, I came in as a true freshman, full ride scholarship guy, and started my whole freshman year. Ended up going to the Gator Bowl, beating the University of Georgia, had some game-winning snaps, and had a great time there. Well on my way to hopefully moving to the next level, getting some more accolades. But unfortunately, going into my sophomore season, after having a great freshman year, about a week or two before kind of the fall camp, the big hurrah and getting the team together before the season starts, I unfortunately suffered a career-ending back injury, pretty much breaking my back. And over the course of the next couple of months, tried pretty much everything, acupuncture, hydrotherapy, physical therapy, chiropractic, everything that you could imagine that was less invasive. And eventually at the end of that, had to make the unfortunate decision of going under for back surgery, and 6.5-hour back surgery at an 18-year-old was not necessarily in my train of thought or what I was looking to do with my life, but that's where I was. And that was certainly the end of my football career at the time.
What happened to your health after that? I would imagine that recovery, that road back was definitely long, and the standard football player's diet is definitely well above 2,000 calories. So what happened along that process for you as you tried to recover your back? What happened to the rest of your body?
Well, Chuck, I always thought as I was a football player, and I was, even before I was a college football player, a high school football player, you always think you see someone who's obese, you see someone who's overweight, and you say, well, why don't they just get a gym membership and run on the treadmill? Why aren't they just burning off those extra calories? That's how you think, right? As an athlete who all you've ever done is trying to put on weight and muscle. And so leading up to my injury, and as I was playing, it's like, well, when I'm done playing football, when I'm retired after a long, illustrious career, I'll just start exercising more. I'll start running on the treadmill, and I'll burn off the calories, and I'll live a happy life, thin, and all this. But then I find myself again at 18, after 6.5-hour back surgery, relearning how to walk, wondering if I'll ever be able to live a normal, healthy life, pick up my children, or be able to, run around the farm, or, do things that I had always done growing up. And that's when I realized very quickly that I wasn't going to be able to jump on the treadmill and burn off all those calories. It took quite a while there where I was still eating the same amount of food. I was eating the same quantity, the same caloric density that I was eating, the standard American junk that I was eating, and had actually ballooned up from where I was before my back injury and got up to somewhere around 260, 265 pounds, and was at a pretty tough spot because like I said, for all my life, I thought I was going to just burn off those extra calories. And it was then that I began to understand that I was not going to be able to outwork my mouth. I wasn't going to be able to use my 2 legs to beat that 4-prong fork that was shoving standard American fare into my face. And so that initially went towards the non-whole food plant-based, the non-vegan way of eating and living and losing the weight. It was initially based on an animal-based diet. That was where I was led initially, because at the time, Chuck, I don't know if we covered this in the last episode, but as I was at the University of Nebraska, I was also getting my degree in livestock production. So I like to tell folks I have a 4-year degree in breeding, feeding, fattening, slaughtering, slicing, and serving every animal that Old MacDonald ever dreamed of. Now, that's not something I'm proud of. That's not something that obviously I use today, or even something that is applicable in any of my day-to-day life anymore. But that is my background. That is what I got my degree in. And so I was initially led to my professors and those people at the university that were kind of telling me, or who seemed like very smart individuals. And so I tried what was recommended, the keto diet, the low carb diet, the JJ Virgin Skinny diet, the cut all the plants out and eat all the animals, basically a carnivore style of diet. But unfortunately, after months and months of strictly following these, I found myself just as fat, sick, and overweight as I was before. But this time I was frustrated because at no point in my life had I ever tried to lose weight. And so I felt like I was actually trying to lose weight. I was following their advice. I was doing what they were saying. I was eating what I was supposed to be eating on those type of diets. But I found myself, again, no better than I was months before after a lot of effort. So I was then frustrated. And that was when I think we did cover this for a minute there in the last episode. But, I had a very pivotal point in my journey. Was I'm sitting in a nutrition class and look over to the person that I sat next to normally. I said, "There's something wrong with this picture." And he said, "Well, what's wrong, Gabriel?" I said, "The professor that I've been taking nutrition advice for, the smartest guy in the room, the guy that knows all the different metabolic pathways and what this does and that does, I've been taking advice from him on how to lose weight, and he's 300 pounds. And that was the first time I realized it. And from that point on, I made the decision that I was not going to take diet, nutrition, weight loss, healthy lifestyle advice from my 300-pound professors. And that led me on the journey to where we are now.
Yeah. And even though you had that epiphany, going from where you were to where you are now, I mean, that is such a radical transformation. I mean, it's a 180 and then some, my man. It's like, if you could go and it's even hard to put into words. Do you feel though, like when you made that transition and you stopped eating all of the burgers and the steaks and all of those animals that you learned about during your college courses, did you worry that you were like checking your man card at all?
I don't think I came that far to it, but I will tell you that I made this transition towards the middle of my classes, right? Or towards the middle of my college career. And so I was in senior level. I was a year and a half long vegan in senior level livestock production classes. And there's probably not too many of those around your larger ag campuses around the country. And so, no, I don't think so, because this is how I looked at it, Chuck. I mean, I grew up with a family that was obese. I grew up myself, larger, and I was eating this way. And I made the decision to kind of go a different route. I was, after that epiphany of realizing that my 300-pound professor was not the person I should be taking advice on what I should be eating on to live a healthy lifestyle, my eyes were really open. Around that time, I was also introduced to Dr. McDougall, Dr. Esselstyn, T. Colin Campbell. The list goes on and on of these plant-based pioneers, realizing that I had thought I had tried everything, but in reality, I had tried everything but the only thing that was going to work for long-term sustainable weight loss and a healthy lifestyle. And that was a whole food, plant-based diet, no oil, built around the simple starchy staples. I don't know if you can see, it's on my hat there. I live by it. and I wear it every day. You know, the foods like rice, beans, potatoes, oats, corn, quinoa, foods that people in populations have lived on for thousands of years without being plagued by the chronic diseases that are running rampant, like obesity, heart disease, type 2 diabetes, cancer. And so I began to eat those things. I began to educate myself on those things. And then as I'm sitting in these classes, I realized that, whoa, it wasn't only my 300-pound professor. It's the other 18-year-olds, 17, 18, 19, 20-year-olds that are also 275 pounds that were eating the same way as I am. So I can either sit next to them, be like them, eat like them, and, you know, be a part of that club, or I'm going to eat those whole food, plant-based foods, and I'm going to make a different trajectory of my life. And unfortunately for me, I've been able to do that. I lost 100 pounds over the course of 2 years, about a pound a week if you take it as an average. And I've kept that off for years now. Whereas, unfortunately, a lot of those, you could call them classmates, who were 240, 250 pounds are now pushing 270, 300, and they're not even 27 yet. And so I don't feel like there was ever that man card lost, because there's a lot of athletes who unfortunately have to end their careers, whether professionally, collegiately, and the normal trajectory is they're at a weight that they were playing, and then they balloon up 50% of that, 100% of that sometimes. And I made the decision that wasn't going to be the case for me.
It's hard to unsee that when you do have that epiphany, when that light bulb does go off, and you look at everything completely differently at that point. And it's like, wow, how did I miss this my entire life until now? But it's so easy to miss. And you don't beat yourself up over it, because you're just brought up thinking that that's the norm. If you grow up around that, of course, that's all you're going to know. You're going to think it's normal and not have to question it. But then when you see it and you look around, it's just like, man, nothing is ever the same, man. But
yeah, you hit it right there. You know, you grow up with obese family members. You grow up in a world where most of your classmates are overweight, obese. You grow up where it's actually not the norm to be, if kids who are at a healthy body weight growing up or in school or even family members, and they were what I would consider now a healthy body weight, back then you'd say, oh, they must not be eating enough. They're not 250 pounds. What's wrong with them? And so it certainly was a paradigm shift of massive proportions. But once you do, like you said, once you start to see it, to say, this isn't this normal of what people are eating and what people are doing to their health, and the way, the size that they are, and the health outcomes that accompany the food and the lifestyle, that may be normal to them. It may be normal to the 75, 80% of the people that are experiencing that, but that's not what I want to be a part of. I'm going to be a part of the abnormal, healthy body weight, long-lived, healthy lifestyle. And yeah, once you make that decision, there's really no turning back. And I'll just say this, Chuck, a question that normally comes up after that, or in regards to the football and in regards to the athletics, is, well, didn't you miss steak? Didn't you miss all that, those filet mignons or those sirloins that they were feeding you at the university? Or didn't you miss that? And no, I really didn't. And here's the big reason, was because that every week that I was eating a healthy, whole food, plant-based diet, and every pound I lost, I felt exponentially better. And so when you start to eat this way, you start to see those results, you start to lose the weight, you start to kind of regain that health that you didn't even know you lost. There's no turning back, because I understand what this way of eating does to me, and I can see what that way of eating how it affected me, and what it equaled in my weight and my lifestyle. And once you make that decision, there was really no turning back for me.
Okay, so you said you wanted to be abnormal, and God knows that you definitely are, man. You are like a unicorn, man. You are about as rare as they come. And I mean that in the best way possible, because not only are you sitting there in those animal ag classes being completely plant-based, which in itself is just phenomenal, man. You are the only person I've ever known who did this. So you're doing that, which is great. But now you've gone from being this football player, jock kind of guy, and you shattered that stigma. You started into the plant-based diet, flash forward a number of years, and now you've gone so far as, now that you're a father, you've even written a children's book. You and your wife teamed up to just write this new children's book to introduce the idea that animals are our friends, not our food.
Yeah, it kind of all comes from the fact that, we to be even more of a unicorn there, to be even more abnormal, we grow most all of our food here on the farm. We're outside of the Richmond, Virginia area. We're in beautiful zone 7B climate. And one thing that I began to introduce myself with and educate myself more and more was, as I was in those ag classes as a sophomore, junior, and senior, was realizing that, whoa, this is not the way that we should be feeding the world. This is not the way that we should be feeding our families and ourselves. And then at the same time, I'm eating a whole food plant-based diet and wondering, well, how do we produce those foods? And that's when I got into organic gardening and more of producing our own food and our own plant resources. And so that's when I got big into that. And so we do have a farm here. We have our we call it the 1 acre vegan farm. And it's basically where we grow our own food. We grow our sweet potatoes. We grow white potatoes. We grow okra. We grow beans. We grow corn. We grow about everything that we eat, with a few exceptions. And so maybe salt being an exception that we're not growing here on the farm, but and some herbs. And so so that was where we've kind of been. And then Bridget came into our lives almost 16 months ago, and she's right here with me every day on the farm, doing the chores and taking care of the vegetables. And so we adopted, or we rescued, a couple of ducklings. What was it, 3-4 months ago? And Splish and Splash were brought onto our farm to live a long and healthy life without, they were destined to be a part of the meat bird industry. And so Splish and Splash came into our family, and Bridget adopted them with open arms, of course. And so we did write, that's coming in, Splish and Splash Come to the Farm, The Adventures of the Little Vegan Farmer. So my wife, who's a professor, so Dr. Gabriel Miller, and myself wrote the book, and we've it's been really fun. It was really fun to write the book. In the past, Chuck, I was the author of the plant-based diet, or I am the author of the plant-based diet for beginners. It was a wonderful book, a wonderful experience. But I wanted to see what it would be like to self-publish a book, and so this book right here was 1,000% my wife and I's work, editing, time and energy, and so it certainly paid off, and something that we're proud of, and something that we've been thrilled to see families get for their children, their grandchildren, their loved ones, themselves, and getting to see people share posts of little kids reading the book, and then kind of giving the thesis of the book afterwards, talking about Bridget and the ducks and how they're on the farm and why they're there. And it's been really fun. I'll say that we've certainly enjoyed it.
It really is a fun little story. Obviously an easy read. It really is kind of the quintessential children's book. And it's a short story, but it's a profound story. And the fact that Splish and Splash are very real is just also incredible. So really, I mean, that's just a whole heck of a lot of fun. Let's talk though a little bit, shift back to the nutrition component here, before we talk more about the book. Let's talk about the fact that you are a father now, but you grew up in a family where, like mine, a lot of the family members were obese, not the healthiest in the world, but you're raising your child completely differently. Do you feel like a sense of pride that you are taking these steps to set your child up for long-term health, so that they have a so much lower risk of all of these chronic diseases, the high blood pressure, heart disease, diabetes, on and on and on and on? You got to feel good about that as a father.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's you really want the best for your children. That's across the board. Everyone says it, and most people do all that they can to provide that, or to make that a reality. And with Bridget, she eats, she's been exclusively breastfed up until the time she was about 12 months old, and she's still breastfeeding, but she's began eating what we're eating, and it's been really great. Where a lot of parents, or new parents, or old parents who like to give advice will say, "Oh, you got to watch this, you got to watch that, you got to watch this." Where in reality, we're eating whole plant foods as close to their natural state as possible, minimally processed, and mostly from the farm. And so as we're eating, and she wants to eat something, or she's eating something, it's pretty much what's on our plate. We're not, we're not going to the steakhouse and getting her McDonald's or something to sit on the side. We're eating rice and beans, and guess what she's having? She's having rice and beans, and that is as simple as that is. It's also very profoundly healthful as well, not just now, but long term. And so, yeah, we're excited about it. I'd say that being a parent really changed a lot of things in the food that we were eating or growing. I would say, Chuck, is the fact that not that we were eating anything that wasn't whole food plant based, but we've kind of moved towards, if we buy something, we're going to buy something organic. Now, I'm not going to go on a spiel about that, but basically it's like, hey, if I'm eating it, or if Erica's eating it, my wife's eating it, then Bridget's going to eat it. Or if we're all eating it, then we're all eating it. And so we've made that decision, and which also leads us to just growing more and more of our own food. But it certainly has been a fun journey of being Bridget's dad. The food component of it's certainly something we don't even think about now, right? It's to say that it's just normal for us to eat this way, the whole food plant-based, building a diet around the simple starchy staples. But thinking about, when you think about that long-term implications, it's pretty fun to think about that. What did you eat as a baby, or what did you eat as a little one? Someone might ask British, just, I ate what the Okinawans ate, or what the I ate a diet for longevity, which is something fun to think about when she's older.
That's fantastic. I eat what the Okinawans eat. That is, man, nobody's expecting that answer. What are some of Bridget's favorites? Sweet potatoes are big ones with kids. And if you're growing your own, man, I would imagine that those are extra sweet.
Yeah, Bridget likes the sweet potatoes. Now, I will say we grow a lot of different types of sweet potatoes, and so she's a really big fan of purple sweet potatoes. So the Japanese purple sweet potatoes. She's also a big fan of the Korean red skin sweet potato with a white inside. And but purple is definitely her favorite. What else does she love? She loves green beans. We grow green beans. We freeze them, and so we have those probably 3 or 4 times a week. We'll have our own green beans, and she loves a good steamed green bean. And really, it's funny. She loves about everything, and there's really not a vegetable that she hasn't enjoyed or that she won't eat when it's put in front of her. And then also, breakfast bars, oats. She's a big fan of oats, and I don't know. What we eat, she eats. So I'd say she likes it all right now.
Dude, that is so great. And she's
not picky at all. I will say that. I mean, a lot. That's a comment we get a lot is, she's not picky.
Wow.
And it's kind of to say, well, she hasn't been fed hyper processed, hyper satiating, or hyper chemicalized, whatever you want to call it, fast food junk. She's only eaten whole plant foods her whole life, and so there's no, I'd rather eat this. I'm excited to eat this.
Mm-hmm. How are you and your wife going to deal with that when she gets a little bit older and she starts having play dates, or she goes to school where she's going to be exposed to foods that you don't have in the house here? How do you think you're going to handle that situation when she gets curious about certain things?
Well, I think that she'll have a good solid base. I mean, that's the majority of our job as a parent, is to give her a good solid base to stand on. But certainly we'll be there with a loving arm around everyone who gets to be a part of her growing journey, to make sure that her health, wellness, longevity will be of utmost priority.
Well, you know what the key is? Just make sure that all the friends come to your house, and that way it's just the problem solved, right?
That is true. Yeah.
And in the book, I mean, she is just as cute as a button with these ducks, splish and splash. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and drop a link to that in the show notes in the episode description. So if you want to go ahead and pick up your copy, it's available right now on Amazon. It really is just a fun read. I've got it up on my phone right here in my Kindle, and it's so bright and it's so colorful, and I can't imagine that there's a child out there who won't respond positively to this.
And I'll say this, Chuck, on the book side of things, we did make it it's certainly a compassionate centered book. So if you want to, but I'll also say it's not a people who eat meat are bad, or it's not going to attack someone. It's hopefully going to welcome in those who read this book to their children, or the kids who read it, and to say, that's an interesting way to think about it. They don't eat animals. So it does not come from an attacking position. It comes from a loving, compassionate, welcoming position, because this whole food plant-based way of eating, this vegan lifestyle, whatever you'd like to call it, it's not about being better. It's not about attacking another side. It's really about saying, hey, this is a profound truth, education, whatever you want to call it, way of living that we have stumbled upon that has been obviously brought forward and kept continually. The education has been brought by Dr. Bernard, Dr. Esselstyn, all the list goes on. And so we're just kind of standing on that base and saying, hey, come on over here, try it out, see how it goes. And in growing up with the complete opposite way of living and eating, I can tell you that it's a whole lot nicer over here.
No doubt about it. Oh man, I can't let you go without asking if the ducks eat some of what you guys are growing.
They certainly do. The ducks will. They love oats. They love potatoes, sweet potatoes. Popcorn, we do grow popcorn here. Popcorn's a real fun one for us. Air popped popcorn, and so if you bring popcorn out to them, they will literally try to climb up you. In a vertical position, they will try to climb up you to get to that popcorn. So they certainly get their fair share of whole food, plant-based, simple starchy staples.
Well, here's the deal, man. I now live about an hour and a half from you. And you had me at grow our own popcorn. And so what's going to happen is one day randomly, I'm just going to knock on your door and I'm going to be like, hi, nice to meet you in person. Feed me popcorn. Just know that I'm not trying to be rude. I just want some popcorn. That sounds amazing. I've never had super deluxe fresh popcorn. I would imagine that the taste level is off the charts, man.
Yeah, we grow heirloom popcorns here. So it's a whole lot different than your modernized big ag type of popcorn. What we have is different varieties, like a hull-less popcorn, actually. So a Japanese hull-less, which basically means that the hard outer hull or kernel, which normally gets stuck in your teeth or in the back of your throat, causes you to choke, things like that. It's very minimal and small on this hull-less popcorn. So that's a fun one. Also some indigenous people's popcorns, a Dakota black popcorn. It's a little bit smaller, but great flavor. There's a lot of different options there. And that's a fun thing about growing your own food is that when it's not all about the bottom line or, bringing in every little bit to the bushel that you can get, it's more about, wow, this tastes really good. I can grow enough to feed my family on a space that I have, permitted to me. That's all that really matters. Does it taste good? Am I able to grow it? And so we're moving towards there. But yeah, certainly, Chuck, you have an open invite. Your wife and you do. Come on down for some popcorn sometime soon, and we'll pop some fresh farm popcorn.
Dude, you are a popcorn connoisseur. I learn more about you every single time you're on the show. Like you are truly one of the world's most interesting people, plant-based Gabriel. I am dead serious when I say that. You are fantastic, dude. Hey,
I love to read. I love to learn new things. I don't like to I just like to learn new things. So if there's something new to learn and it relates to growing plants or heirloom varieties or something, I'll read a book. I think close to me here, I got a whole book on okra. I read a whole book on okra. So
oh man, who knew you could do a whole book on okra? That's fantastic. Oh, stand up. Hold on. Stand up. If you're watching this right now, you got to see this shirt. That's what I'm talking about. Sweet potato right there, my friend. This is a new line of shirt that you're putting out too, correct? And simple starch staples. Yep.
Simple starchy staples. We've got a plant power hat at plantbasedgabriel.com/shop. You can find our premium t-shirts there. We've got children's, babies' clothes. We just also have adult clothing. So basically, I was really, Chuck, wanted to find some fun designs or create some fun designs because there really wasn't a lot of great options for, if you're someone who loves watermelon or someone who loves sweet corn or loves sweet peas or you love sweet potatoes or white potatoes, tomatoes, basically you think of it, there's a lot of different options. If that's your favorite food, it should be easy to say, hey, I want a nice premium, well-printed, comfortable t-shirt at a reasonable price with free shipping. And I just like that. But unfortunately, there really wasn't that there. So at plantbasedgabriel.com/shop, you can basically find almost anything that you can grow in the garden, and it's on a shirt, and it's a comfortable t-shirt and free shipping. And so we hope, that's the sweet potato shirt. How many shirts have sweet potatoes on them, Chuck? You really just can't find it. So
no, man.
If you can't find it, you got to build it yourself.
Again, you are as unique as they come, and it is the most glorious thing in the history of history. So thank you, man, so much. We're gonna drop a link to that also in the show description and in the episode notes. So pick up a t-shirt, man. I know, like, that sweet potato shirt has my name all over it, my friend. I love sweet. You know who else loves sweet potatoes is our beagle. I mean, his favorite treat is a dehydrated sweet potato, and he treats that thing like it is gold. You can get him to do just about, and he will vacuum. He will vacuum the house if you give him one of those sweet potatoes, man.
Hey, well, Bella, our bulldog, she's 10 years old. She's grumpy, but if Bridget has something in her hand, Bridget can make her, jump up and flip backwards if she had to.
Giddy up, man.
Sweet potato, some dates, whatever it is, she goes crazy for them.
All right, so we got a link to the t-shirts, and by all means, go ahead and pick up the book, Splish and Splash, Come to the Farm, The Adventures of the Little Vegan Farmer. That is in the show description and episode notes right now. Plant-Based Gabriel, my friend, thank you so very much for your time, and congrats on the book again.
Hey, thank you, Chuck. It was a pleasure to come on the podcast, and I want to thank all of our listeners, and, keep up the great work. I love listening to the show, and so I'm sure I'll be back to hear some more.
The popcorn special is coming, my friend. If you feel like you've raised your health IQ by a couple of points, go ahead and subscribe to this channel and leave a nice comment below. And to hear the entire interview, head over to Apple Podcast or wherever you get your shows from and subscribe to The Exam Room by the Physicians Committee. And please leave a 5-star rating.